I should have seen it coming the moment my date excused herself to the bathroom and never came back. That was the third time this month, different girl, same outcome. And each time, when I stepped outside into the night, there he was, leaning casually against his black car like some smug movie villain. Another one bites the dust? Ethan drawled, his lips tugging into a half-smirk that made my chest tighten in ways I didn't want to acknowledge. I wanted to punch him. I wanted to kiss him. God help me, I didn't know which urge was stronger. Ethan Hayes, my coworker, my rival in the advertising firm we both slaved away at, was the bane of my dating life. Somehow, without fail, he always showed up. At the bar, at the cafe, at the damn movie theater. And somehow my date would vanish, leaving me with nothing but a cold drink, an empty seat, and Ethan's infuriating grin. You know, Marcus, he said that night, brushing a hand through his hair as if he owned the night sky itself. Maybe the universe is trying to tell you something. Yeah, I snapped, that you're a stalker. But deep down, something gnawed at me, because Ethan wasn't just ruining my dates. He was studying me, watching me, and the way his eyes lingered like I was both the punchline of his joke and the center of his world made my heart stumble in a rhythm I tried so hard to ignore. It all started 6 months ago when Ethan joined the firm. Everyone loved him instantly, his sharp wit, his unshakable confidence, the way clients melted under his easy charm. Meanwhile, I had clawed my way up from intern to senior account manager, fueled by caffeine, late nights, and sheer determination. I hated how effortlessly he seemed to do what I had bled for. And yet, against my better judgment, we became not friends, but something. Work rivals who shared late-night takeout in the office. Teammates who tore into each other's ideas until the best one survived. Enemies who somehow ended up side by side, shoulders brushing in the elevator, laughter slipping out between insults. But outside of work, that's where the sabotage began. I remember the first time it happened. I had taken Emma, a sweet editor from a publishing house, to a wine bar downtown. Things were going well until Ethan appeared at the bar, ordering whiskey like he owned the place. His presence unsettled me, but I tried to shake it off. Then Emma excused herself and never came back. Later that night, when I stepped out, Ethan was there, smirking. Coincidence, I told myself. But 3 ruined dates later, it was impossible to ignore. That night, sitting across from him in the diner, I finally demanded answers. Why the hell do you keep showing up? Are you following me? Ethan's smile faltered, just for a second, and I caught something raw in his gaze, something vulnerable. But then it was gone, replaced with his usual cocky mask. Maybe I just like the food, he shrugged, sipping his coffee. Bullshit. My voice cracked with frustration. You've ruined every single date I've had in months. What do you get out of this? Some kind of sick entertainment. The silence that followed was suffocating. Ethan set down his cup slowly, his fingers drumming against the ceramic as though debating something with himself. Then, almost too quietly to hear, he said, "What if I told you it's not about them?" I froze, my chest constricted. Then who the hell is it about? Our eyes locked, and the answer hit me before his lips even moved. You, he whispered. It would have been easier if he had laughed it off right after, if he had said it as a joke. But he didn't. His expression was deadly serious, his usual armor stripped away. And for the first time since I'd known him, Ethan Hayes looked terrified. I ruin your dates because I can't stand seeing you with someone else, he confessed. Because every time you look at them the way I want you to look at me, it eats me alive. The diner's neon sign buzzed faintly, casting blue and red shadows across his face. My mind spun. Every sarcastic remark, every mocking grin, every time he'd hovered a little too closely, it all rearranged itself into something new, something dangerous. You're kidding, I said, but the words lacked conviction. Do I look like I'm kidding? His voice cracked this time, raw and unguarded. Marcus, I'm in love with you. My heart pounded in my ears. This was Ethemy rival, my tormentor, the man who had driven me crazy since the day we met. The idea that he had been sabotaging my love life not out of cruelty, but because he wanted might was absurd, infuriating, terrifying. And yet, staring at him, I couldn't deny the truth that had been creeping in at the edges of my heart for months. I remembered the way he once lent me his jacket when we left the office late and the night air had bitten through my shirt. The way he defended me in front of a difficult client, even when it meant taking the heat himself. The way he looked at me now like I was the only person in the room. I wanted to hate him. God, I wanted to. But the walls I'd built were crumbling, brick by brick, under the weight of his confession. My mouth went dry as I whispered, "Ethan." His hand inched closer across the table, stopping just short of touching mine. "Just tell me to stop," he murmured. "Tell me you feel nothing, and I'll disappear from your dates, your life, everything. But if there's even a chance you feel the same," he left the sentence unfinished. But I didn't need him to, because the truth was, I did feel something, and that terrified me more than anything. The silence between us felt unbearable. My pulse hammered in my throat as if it wanted to leap straight into his hand still hovering near mine. I told myself to pull away, to shut this down before it got messy. But my body betrayed me didn't move. "You're out of your mind?" I whispered, though my voice trembled in a way that made it sound more like a plea than a rejection. Ethan's lips twitched into the faintest smile. "Then I guess you'll have to be crazy with me." That single sentence cracked something open in me. The days that followed were chaos. At the office, nothing looked different on the surface. We still fought over pitches, still traded insults laced with laughter, still tried to outshine each other in front of clients. But underneath, everything had shifted. Every brush of his arm against mine burned hotter. Every lingering glance turned into a question I was too afraid to answer. And yet, I couldn't stop thinking about that night at the diner, about the way his voice broke when he said he loved me. I'd lain awake for hours replaying it, fighting with myself, terrified of what it meant. It came to a head 2 weeks later during a late-night work session. The office was deserted, city lights spilling through the tall windows. We had been going over campaign drafts for hours, the tension between us thick enough to choke on. At some point, I looked up and found him staring not at the work, but at me. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes were begging. I snapped. "Why me, Ethan? Out of everyone, why the hell me?" He didn't flinch. "Because you fight me. Because you never let me win easy. Because when you laugh, it feels like the only thing that matters. Because I've tried to ignore it, Marcus, but it's eating me alive." Something inside me broke loose. Before I could stop myself, I closed the distance between us and kissed him. It wasn't gentle. It was messy, desperate. A collision of months of anger and longing and confusion. His hand cupped the back of my neck, pulling me closer, and I melted into him like I had been waiting my whole life for this. When we finally pulled apart, breathless, I whispered, "You're such an asshole." He grinned, forehead resting against mine. "Yeah, but I'm your asshole now." For the first time in months, I laughed without bitterness. Of course, things didn't magically fix themselves overnight. Being with Ethan meant constant friction. Our arguments sometimes flared hotter because now there was more at stake. But it also meant moments I hadn't known I was starving for. Falling asleep on his shoulder after a brutal workday, sharing quiet breakfasts before the city woke. The way his hand always seemed to find mine under the table when no one was watching. There were bumps, colleagues raising eyebrows at how often we worked late together. Family questions I wasn't ready to answer. But Ethan never wavered. He faced every storm with that same maddening confidence, reminding me again and again that we were worth it. Months later, we found ourselves back at the same diner where it all began. The neon lights still buzzed overhead. The coffee still tasted like watered-down regret. But everything felt different. Ethan slid into the booth across from me, that familiar smirk tugging at his lips. "So, no more disappearing dates lately, huh?" I rolled my eyes, though warmth spread through me. "No, but I do have one person who keeps showing up no matter what." His gaze softened. "And how's that working out for you?" I reached across the table, lacing my fingers through his. The simple touch felt like home. "Honestly," I said, smiling despite myself, "better than I ever imagined." He squeezed my hand, his thumb brushing circles against my skin, and in that moment I knew. All the chaos, all the heartbreak, all the confusion, it had led me here. To him. To us. For the first time, I didn't want to run. As we sat there, two flawed men trying to figure it out together, I realized love didn't always come the way you expected. Sometimes it showed up disguised as rivalry, as frustration, as the person who drove you insane. But beneath it all, it was still love, raw, stubborn, and unshakable. And maybe, just maybe, that was the kind worth holding on to. Ethan lifted his cup in a mock toast. To ruined dates. I laughed, clinking my mug against his. And to the idiot who ruined them. Our eyes met, and in the glow of neon and night, I finally let myself believe it. This was where I belonged. With him. Always. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.